With that, let's now shift focus over to the other major highlight this week, the DNC. As US Vice President Kamala Harris delivered a rousing address on the final night of the Democrat National Convention in Chicago, where she officially accepted the Democratic presidential nomination. Harris praised President Joe Biden and articulated her vision for America's future. She called her opponent and former President Donald Trump's vision dark conservatism. She's also hit out at Trump over abortion and reproductive rights, saying that doctors are afraid to help women because of the strict abortion laws that Donald Trump has advocated. In response, Donald Trump has said that Harris will obliterate medical care and has accused her of backing illegal immigrants.
Please welcome the Democratic nominee for president, Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Kamala Harris gave the biggest speech of her life on the final night of the Democratic National Convention and made history once again.
On behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
She is now the first woman of color to become a major party's presidential nominee.
I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections, to the peaceful transfer of power.
Throughout her 45-minute speech, Kamala Harris made a pitch of who she is and what she can do. But at the end of the day, did she leave America convinced enough to vote for her? In a bid to draw a contrast with her billionaire GOP rival, Kamala Harris dug into her middle-class roots and recounted her mother's journey as an immigrant from India.
My mother was a brilliant, 5-foot-tall, brown woman with an accent. And as the eldest child, I saw how the world would sometimes treat her. But my mother never lost her cool. She was tough, courageous, a trailblazer in the fight for women's health. And she taught Maya and me a lesson that Michelle mentioned the other night. She taught us to never complain about injustice, but do something about it. Do something about it. That was my mother. And she taught us, and she also taught us, and never do anything half-assed. And that is a direct quote. A direct quote.
She gave a run-through of her professional career as a prosecutor.
Every day, in the courtroom, I stood proudly before a judge and I said 5 words: Kamala Harris for the people. And to be clear, my entire career, I've only had one client, the people.
We've seen many takedowns of Donald Trump over the course of 4 days of the DNC, and Harris only cashed in on the theme.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
She brought up the January 6th attack on the US Capitol by Trump supporters.
Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames.
She reminded the country of his criminal convictions.
Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails.
And she also slammed Project 2025, which has become a favorite Democratic punching bag.
We know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back.
While Kamala Harris did call on voters to chart a new path forward, the details of her vision were vague, like lowering the cost of everyday needs. And on policies where she did present clarity, she didn't stray from the path of the Biden administration, like specifically calling out abortion rights.
As a part of his agenda, he and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds. One must ask, why exactly is it that they don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
Or pushing for a bipartisan border bill.
After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe and I brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you. As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law. I know we can live up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border.
And delivering an unchanged message on the Gaza war.
With respect to the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done. And And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking. President Biden and I are working to end this war such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
While Harris's speech included calls for unity in a divided America, was she able to draw a distinction, not only from her Republican rival, but also from the unpopular aspects of her former boss, Joe Biden, and create an identity of her own?
So let's get out there, let's fight for it, let's get out there, let's vote for it, and together let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you. God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America. Thank you all.